to this App Advisory Plus Insights webinar. I'm Ram Van Tromp and I'm Operations Director at App Advisory Plus, and I'm delighted to be joined by Gareth Pugh, who's Head of Strategic Partnerships at Fluidly, and Luke Hemsley, who's Head of Enablement at Fluidly. Fluidly syncs seamlessly with Xero and QuickBooks Online and uses artificial intelligence with financial modeling to produce a forecast that's always up to date. The aim of this session is to give an insight into Fluidly, how you as accountants and bookkeepers can use it in your practice, the features and benefits of using Fluidly, and how you can use Fluidly to drive more app advisory conversations with your clients. So thanks for joining us, guys.
No, thank you for having me.
Thank you for having us, yeah.
So can we start with just give us a brief overview from your perspective of Fluidly, why it was built, where you see the gap in the market, where you're helping accountants?
Yeah, I'll make a start, Luke, if that's all right, and then you can jump in if there's anything you think I've missed off. But yeah, so Fluidly, we were founded in 2016, and the reason obviously that we were brought in, and Fluidly was kind of built out by Caroline Plum, our founder and CEO, is around helping like small businesses sleep better at night. I think one of the biggest kind of pain points that you see across, any businesses on there around cash flow, and it's a real kind of financial burden on people. I think if you look at some of the statistics of, 82% of businesses fail due to cash flow management, 48% of businesses in the UK are cash flow negative, and 69% of business owners are sleepless, due to cash flow. What we wanted to do is we wanted to build intelligent cash flow as its own kind of category, is where we would, concentrate on using, as you mentioned, artificial intelligence and looking to build out a real solid foundation of where, accountants and bookkeepers can kind of be that advisor, but also, helping their clients and day to day. And the kind of successes that we've seen on the back of that is we work with, hundreds of accountant members already, tens, thousands of SMEs, and picked up, quite a few awards on the way as well. So that's kind of where we see ourselves and what we're looking to build out.
And you think with QuickBooks and Xero at the moment?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
And so I'd really like to go into the product and have a look at how we can actually use Fluidly.
So yeah, the view that what we're going to talk a bit about today is Fluidly as a product. As Gareth mentioned, we're very much focused on intelligent cash flow management and everything that entails. The view that we can see here is particular to you as accountants or advisors, and actually allows you to see all of your clients in one place, regardless of whether they're using Xero or QuickBooks. This data set that we've got here only has one business connected, but you can have as many as you want connected to this as part of your Fluidly membership. The idea being that you can quickly and easily monitor your clients at a glance. So across, running from left to right, across the top here, we've got some kind of headline figures related to businesses' cash flow, their opening cash balance, their debtor ledger, their creditor ledger, and their last 4 months' revenues. The reason that we've got those here and the power of those is that you can actually drive a lot of conversation points just from this screen. Say, for example, you can see that a business may have a cash balance that's close to zero and a big creditor ledger. They owe a lot of money. Talking to them, opening up conversations around how they're planning to make those payments to suppliers. If it looks that their debtor ledger might be a kind of multiple of their month-on-month revenues, it might be that there's a collections issue. So again, using these kind of headline figures to already drive conversation points with your clients. It's also worth mentioning that you can use this button here to invite your clients to Fluidly Lite, the 90-day forecast, which is there for them to use absolutely free of charge. So if I click into this screen here, we'll get a very, we land on the home screen, and this is the first thing that your clients will see when they log into Fluidly. The idea behind this screen is really to kind of give you a bit of an overview of a business's cash flow over the next 30 days, including biggest payments in and out. as well as helping businesses to keep track of their VAT. So this VAT monitor, the way that it works is it will track your your VAT quarter as input by you when you set Fluidly up. It will tell you when you're in it, and then once it elapses, it will kind of give you a countdown up until the payment date. That's something that we've built in response to feedback around businesses, wanting to keep on top of VAT payments, keep on top of their largest payments out, often tax and salaries.
And this is really designed for the business rather than for the accountant, this bit.
This section here can actually be used by both, in as much as I think it's useful for both the accountant and the business owner or the business user to have a view of this. And these parts here on the right really are a great example of how it can be used by both. So we've got some insights into business's cash flow here in these two blocks, one of which gives you an idea of the top 5 largest debtors and the proportion of the ledger that they occupy. Again, really, really useful to give you a sense of what might need to be done to get money into the business, or any risks that exist within the business around having a concentration across too fewer clients. Speaking about that in terms of fundamental risks to a business, or how that might impact your ability to get funding. So again, providing conversation points for accountants and advisors to use with their clients. The other thing, which we'll go on to discuss in a bit greater depth shortly, is this part here around invoices that have passed their expected date in Fluidly. Often that's symptomatic of one of two things. Either they are overdue and they haven't been paid, in which case there's a conversation around why and what can be done to remedy that. And then the other part is they may not have been reconciled. And if they haven't been reconciled, speaking again to the business owner about how they're managing their bookkeeping, who's responsible for that, and if there's the opportunity for the accountant to take on more of that work and begin to expand the relationship in that way in the first instance.
And that's kind of really key, because looking at this stuff, if it's going to be accurate and useful for the accountant, they have to have good data in the first place. So if they've not got good data, that's then a lead in for you to have that chat with them and say, look, we need to sort this out for you to be able to get any useful information out from here.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. And one of the, I think, beauties of a product like Fluidly is that it allows you to have conversations that are not simply confined to cash flow and cash flow management. You can open the door to so many other conversations, one of which is often exactly that conversation around taking on more of that bookkeeping work and the impact that good data can have in being able to kind of do more with the information that's coming out of it. We often see accounting partners of ours offer Fluidly as part of a combination package. So if they're looking to upgrade someone to a cloud-based system and put in some kind of data input system or data capture system, then you can talk about how you can, once that's there, you can use Fluidly to really make the most of that information. Turning now to the cash flow forecast, you can see that we're actually highlighting exactly that. So the last reconciled date, as well as the opening cash balance and other invoices that we believe may be a concern. But really, there are two things that I'd love to mention in terms of the forecast that we've got here. One is how powerful having this kind of visual prompt can be in conversations around cash flow. It may sound silly, but one of the most common bits of feedback we have from our accounting partners is the impact that having this graphical representation has had on conversations around cash flow. Historically, conversations around cash flow have involved enormous Excel spreadsheets that are often difficult to interpret and difficult to maneuver. Being able to show a business owner how decisions they've made previously have impacted their cash balance and how decisions they might take in the future could impact their cash balance can be really, really powerful. The second thing that I'd just love to highlight is how Fluidly generates its forecast in the first instance. So what it will do is break a business down by its chart of accounts. And then within those chart of accounts or those account lines, it will look for patterns. So what it will do is say, okay, within this account line, let's say it's a cash in line or receivables line, is there an amount of money that comes in from a particular customer with a certain frequency? If so, what is that frequency or what is that regularity? who is the customer, what is the amount, and when do we think it will happen in the month. And off the back of that, it will create a prediction or a series of predictions. It will do that as many times as required within that individual account line, and it will do those for all of the account lines that it sees within Fluidly, meaning that all of a sudden you've got this forecast that's been built up and is there and available to use almost instantly in a format that is recognizable to the customer. Because it takes their account lines, they'll easily be able to digest what it is that Fluidly is suggesting. Therefore, I won't spend too much time going into the forecast and the predictions, but you're able to kind of surface predictions within Fluidly. We can see here that we've got a combination of predictions and most likely outstanding invoices. But within that, what you can do is remove predictions that Fluidly has made, edit existing ones, and create new ones. So if you do want to, you can really kind of mold the information within Fluidly as you see fit. And we would always describe Fluidly as kind of a very, very good first guess. It will get you kind of 70, 80% of the way there, and then you have the ability to edit and adjust as you see fit. In terms of, sorry, Rowan, I was just going to say, in terms of making it fun most of the time that we have, what would you recommend? How long have we got? 5 minutes or so?
Yeah, 5 or 10 minutes. I think one of the real key things to get from that, you talked about the decisions, and when I looked at this and saw that there were kind of predetermined options to pick from, going through the typical scenarios that a business owner might go through, hiring new staff, taking out a lease on a vehicle, I found those really useful, playing with it myself. So can you just go through one of those and see how those would work?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's a great point to kind of pull that out. So one of the things that we hear time and time again, both from accountants and business owners, is this desire to be able to discuss certain plans that they might have in the future and how that could impact their cash flow forecast. So what we've done here at Fluidly is create a tool called Goal Planner. And we can see that we've got a few different pre-populated options here: hiring more staff, new opportunities, and keeping a business above water. If we click into this, what we'll see is that we've got this comparison point between a base forecast and a scenario that we're looking to model. Now, because we've looked at hiring more staff, we've got a block or some calculations here already. And what we can do is see how this impacts a business's cash flow. So if we say that this person is going to get paid, let's say £70,000 a year, what we can see already is that how that's impacting the cash flow forecast. So we can see that that's going to cost the business around £6,383 extra a month. We can also say that actually we know that we're going to have to buy them a laptop. And so we can factor that into our calculations as well. Interestingly, we can see that the laptop kicks in immediately once the person's been hired, but the salary doesn't come into play until the end of the month. If we're also, as part of hiring this person, we're also hoping that they're going to bring new revenue into the business. And we believe that they could bring in around £10,000, let's say, into the business. And actually what we see is that that may not happen until April. So if we look at this, initially this person is simply a cost to the business, but actually through beginning to generate that revenue, we can see that that has a beneficial impact on this business's cash flow and may well be a good decision. Once you're happy with these, you've got the option to save them, you've got the ability to download them, and you've also got the ability to rename these. So if, for example, we wanted to call this something else, so winning new business, for example, then we could do exactly that.
And just to be clear on this, this is a feature that's available on the 90-day forecast as well as the the longer forecasts as well.
That's absolutely right. So as part of Fluidly Lite, you will get this feature set, and you can create up to one plan and save it if you want others. So to have multiple plans and to download the forecast to an Excel version, then you would have to upgrade to Pro. But all of these different scenarios that we can see here, hiring staff, increasing revenues, getting a loan, whether it's buying a property, renting a vehicle, they're all available to be used within the Lite version. And the reason that I mention this is that it allows you to have conversations around all sorts of different things with different types of businesses in varying industries as well.
Yeah. And these are the exact sort of conversations that people will be having. So it's really useful to have an easy tool to put them into a modeling scenario.
Exactly that. And also the other reason that it's interesting, if you have conversations around whether or not you may need to look to get a loan or some kind of funding, again, that's a conversation that you can have within Fluidly and really have this kind of end-to-end cash flow experience with the clients. One of the things that I think it'd be great to point out is if we just take a look at the funding side of things as well. So what we've got here are a series of pre-qualified offers that we're able to serve up to Fluidly users, excuse me, based on the information that we have both within Fluidly and from third-party data sets. And what it allows us to do is actually show the different options that might be available to a business, and then allow them to take action on the back of that. So if they are interested, they can simply click here and they'll be put through to one of our funding team who will be able to explore the different options with them and hopefully get that process moving very quickly and easily.
And is this funding based on invoices that are outstanding? So just invoice finance?
This funding, so most of these are actually term loans or revolving credit facilities. One of the next things that we'll be looking to bring into the product is invoice finance, but this will look at a business's kind of varying bits of information within that to provide this. But to answer the question, we're looking at loans and revolving credit facilities here.
Okay, thanks for clearing that.
Great.
But you do have some kind of solution already for the invoices, which is, I believe, is the chasing facility.
That's absolutely right. So the final part that we'll cover here today is intelligent chase. Now, one of the things that we talk a lot about here at Fluidly is once you understand the issue, the what, you can then have conversations around so what and now what do we do about this. And intelligent chase very much fits into now what. It gives business owners the ability to understand, business owners and accountants, the ability to understand the risks that sit within a business's ledger, to take a look at their predictable pairs, their late pairs, and their very late pairs. And what Fluidly will do is bucket those up based on the current invoices outstanding and how they relate to when that business typically pays. Once we understand that, we can then navigate between these buckets of clients. And within that, what we can do is expand out the information available and begin to take an action. So what we can see...
Can I just ask a question on this? Sorry.
Of course, yeah.
So where it says normally pays 8 days late, and the chase activity, is that based on when they normally pay or when the due date of the invoice was?
So what this will do is look at when they typically pay. In our experience, due dates are useful in some respects, but often not the best indicator of when it is that a client will actually pay. So that will take this into account, and then
we're effectively saying that we're accepting that they're paying late, and we're going to chase them based on when they normally pay.
So what it will do is highlight that they are paying late, but say that in this instance they have an invoice that's particularly overdue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now from here you've got the ability to take two different actions. The first one is to send a chasing email, and we've got some pre-populated content available here. Again, this can be edited as required by the user. So you can send that out as a chasing email. The other thing that you can do is add a note. And adding a note might be useful if you've had a telephone call with the client, for example. And taking one of those two actions will contribute to this bit of data here, last chased. The idea being that someone using this product can then scroll down through this list on a kind of frequent basis and systematically make sure that you're contacting debtors or clients with outstanding invoices to get that cash into the business. For those using the Pro functionality, you'll also have the ability to download a debtor report, which includes information on the debtors, the invoices, and any notes that have been made within the last 30 days.
And another key thing here around you're making sure your data is clean is that for this to be working right, you need to have your bookkeeping up to date. And how often, if you've done some bookkeeping in Xero or QuickBooks, does this sync back to say that the invoice has now been paid?
So Fluidly syncs with Xero or QuickBooks on an hourly basis. So anyone doing any work in their general ledger won't have to wait long for that information to be pulled through. In terms of where we want to get to, we'd love for that sync to be instantaneous and be able to pick up the moment that an invoice, something does change within the general ledger, and that's definitely something that we're working towards.
And if they wanted a manual sync, do they just reintegrate and the data comes in, we don't lose anything, or how would that work?
At present, you have to wait for the hourly sync, but again, that is a solution that we are examining.
Okay, great.
Brilliant. So that's a real overview of how it is that Fluidly works. Are there any other questions on the product?
No, it all seems quite easy to use. I think the key thing here is that as an introductory kind of tool to provide your clients with, it makes sense to me to use that, as it's free and could lead to these conversations around your data's not clean, you've got problems with late payers, do you need some support in funding? It's a kind of a door opener to those conversations.
Absolutely. And we find that clients who are interested in their cash flow, as you say, do tend to have kind of better data. They are reconciling more frequently, and that actually leads to huge benefits for accountants when it comes to kind of quarter end or year end, and the time spent in actually gathering information tends to be a lot less. So your ability to kind of complete that task quickly and efficiently is greatly improved.
Great. Well, thanks for the demo. That's really useful. So do you want to just explain kind of how accountants go about getting started with you at Fluidly?
Yeah, of course, no problem at all. So yeah, they come on board. So to be obviously a Fluidly partner, we have, obviously very low entry kind of packages available for partners that come on board them and price wise, but really with so much value. So before I touch on kind of what they would get in regards to the licenses, it's around the value, that's really important that we deliver. So one thing that we do at Fluidly, and Luke's obviously team drives it as head of enablement, is how we support, partners, grow out the service, is how can they offer, cash flow as a service, how can they offer credit control as a service, or how can they do offer and funding. So around intelligent cash flow is made up of them kind of three categories, and it really strengthens the kind of proposition. And then alongside that, the kind of stuff that we do on there, we have dedicated account managers, we have support, certification, cash flow advisory, where they can actually put themselves out there and promote themselves as cash flow advisors as a way of winning new business as well. So we put in a real kind of like focus around that side. But then what we also do is we package that up as well, is giving them the ability to offer, intelligent cash flow across every single client. So we have the Fluidly Lite and the Fluidly Professional. And obviously any app advisory kind of members or new partners who come on board, is they would have the ability to have Fluidly Lite across every client. So it doesn't matter if you've got 100, 200, 300, 20, 30, every single client can get Fluidly Lite on there. And then
in terms of the rollout, kind of, if they were looking to offer it across their client base, would you recommend doing it in certain sections? So identify some ones that have got the most need, do those first, and then take on some more once those have been successfully rolled out? Or what is the approach that you see working?
No, it's a good question. So we can do it obviously in a couple of ways. One thing that we do is we work alongside, we do like an insights report on the clients. So we'll actually look at the clients and, look at clients who would be, a fantastic fit, for Fluidly straight away. But what you probably see a lot of partners are marketing quite socially at the moment is they're actually rolling Fluidly Light out across their whole base. And what we do is we actually support them in how they take that to market. So what they're doing is really strengthening their kind of own proposition by saying every client who's using cloud as part of their package, they'll get Fluidly free of charge. That will support them around the funding, support them around the credit control, support them around the cash flow, plus give all them kind of insights as well. So there's two ways. Some of them might pick a pool of like clients that they want to roll it out with first. But what we're finding more and more now is people are, going out across the whole kind of client base and offering, Fluidly as a great real added value piece.
And just to expand on that slightly more, in terms of the communications around that, how I think that would be a big challenge for accountants and bookkeepers to manage. Do you support them in managing the kind of communications, what they should send out?
100%, yeah. So we have co-branded kind of material where we give the ability, for the accountant to be part of the journey all the way along there. But we actually take that on in-house. So one thing that we do is we have a dedicated kind of partner marketing team that will help them in how they deliver that. So they can invite the clients in two ways. One, they can invite them directly through the program, so through the software itself. Or what we do is we then help them with the marketing, the collateral, and the messaging that they should be sending out to clients and how they connect to it. So yeah, we handhold them through the whole process.
Okay, and yeah, so then when a client comes, what you want to happen really is the client to come back and talk to you about it, because that could then link into further services. So you shouldn't necessarily see that as a burden, having the client come back to you and saying, "Oh,
that should be a great thing. Should be a fun. Then it gives you the opportunity to talk about more services. So in the 15 years I've worked with accountants and bookkeepers, is that kind of step from compliance and advisory is where practices are wanting to go, and some of them are a little bit scared of how they're going to do that, or they don't know how they're going to take this to market. We've got loads of knowledge and loads of experiences and loads of partners who have been through this journey. So we encourage, to support them with that. But on the other hand, what we want to do is we want the clients to go back to their kind of accountants and their bookkeepers and then be able to then start opening more conversations with them as well.
Brilliant. So let's go through a few key takeaways from today's session. Firstly, we've got the free 90-day cash flow forecast, which is kind of what we've just been explaining. It's a really good lead in to have those conversations. And do you want to just touch on how you see that creating organic growth through Fluidly?
Of course, yeah. So they're both linked together. So the 90-day forecast, I think you touched on it well before there, Rowan, is you talked about how you can roll that out to every single client on there, and how it's a great starting point. And it is, the 90-day forecast comes with obviously intelligent chase, the credit control, the funding, all of it. Good as a real good starting point to start building that service out. But what you'll find is as clients are starting to use it, they want to need more than obviously 3 months from the forecasting side. They may want more functionality around the credit control. They may want to build out more kind of scenarios and plans than the one that comes with the Fluidly Light. Is what you find, then they'll naturally upgrade to the professional, and they can do that organically through the software. So there's an upgrade. They can see the additional features. They would click to upgrade, and then what that does is that coming back to obviously the partner updates in their portfolio and flags to them that the client's upgraded to professional. But what you'll then see is you'll then start seeing organic growth, so you'll then see clients naturally from using the software will want more functionality and more features. And then again, that opens up more conversations for the partners to go back and speak to them.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for both of you joining us today. It's been a really good session.
No problem at all.
Thank you very much for having us. Cheers.